Spirit possession. The term itself conjures a vast and often dramatic landscape of human experience. At its core, it describes a profound, altered state of consciousness, one in which an individual's personality, actions, and even their very voice are believed to be taken over by an external entity, be it a spirit, a deity, an ancestor, or a demon. This is not a fringe belief, but a concept woven into the very fabric of countless cultures across every continent and throughout recorded history. The phenomenon manifests through a spectrum of related experiences. We see it in trance, a state of deep focus or dissociation where awareness of the self and the immediate environment is altered. We see it in mediumship, where an individual acts as an intermediary, channeling messages from the spirit world. And we see it in the context of exorcism, a ritual practice aimed at expelling an unwanted or malevolent entity. The content of this exploration touches upon deeply held religious and cultural beliefs. We will approach this subject with the care and respect it deserves, aiming for understanding rather than sensationalism. How do we begin to understand such a complex phenomenon? Scholars from various fields offer different lenses. Anthropologists, like T.M. Luhrmann, study what they call sociocultural scripts. These are the unwritten rules and expectations within a community that shape how a possession experience unfolds, what it means, and how others should react. The possessed individual, often unconsciously, follows a culturally specific template for behavior. Psychologists often frame these experiences in terms of dissociation, a mental process where there's a disconnection between a person's thoughts, memories, feelings, actions, or sense of identity. In this view, a possession state is a profound form of dissociation, where a secondary, culturally defined identity temporarily emerges. Neuroscientists, using tools like fMRI and EEG, have observed changes in brain activity during trance states. Studies on Brazilian mediums, for example, have shown decreased activity in areas related to self-awareness and conscious control, like the prefrontal cortex, during channeling. This suggests a measurable neurological shift accompanies the subjective experience. Crucially, we must distinguish between voluntary and involuntary possession. In many traditions, possession is actively sought. It is an honored and controlled state, a way to commune with the divine, heal the community, or gain wisdom. In other contexts, it is feared, an unwanted, invasive, and harmful affliction that disrupts life and requires intervention. Within Christianity, the concept of possession is most often associated with demonic influence, a malevolent force acting against God's will. The Gospels of the New Testament are foundational, containing numerous accounts of Jesus performing exorcisms, commanding spirits to leave the afflicted with a word of authority. This established a model for the Church's approach to what it terms extraordinary demonic activity. The Roman Catholic Church has the most formalized and widely known rite of exorcism. However, it is a path of last resort. The Church's guidelines, updated in 1999, mandate a rigorous process of discernment. Before an exorcism is even considered, a thorough medical and psychiatric evaluation is required to rule out any underlying physical or mental illness. The person must desire the rite, and the bishop of the diocese must give his permission. The rite itself is not a spectacle of horror, but a solemn liturgy. It involves prayers, the sprinkling of holy water, the laying on of hands, and the direct command to the demon, in the name of Jesus Christ, to depart. While Catholicism has the most structured approach, Pentecostal and charismatic denominations also practice what they call deliverance ministry, which similarly seeks to free individuals from spiritual oppression through prayer and faith, though often with less formal structure. In Islam, the world is understood to be inhabited by not only humans and angels, but also by the jinn, beings created from smokeless fire who, like humans, have free will and can be either good or evil. While the concept of a jinn fully possessing a person is debated among Islamic scholars, the idea of their influence is widely accepted. This can manifest as waswasa, or satanic whisperings, which are intrusive thoughts that tempt a person towards sin or doubt. For more severe afflictions believed to be caused by jinn, the prescribed remedy is ruqya. Ruqya is a form of spiritual healing that involves the recitation of specific verses from the Quran, as well as supplications to Allah for healing and protection. It is a practice rooted in the traditions of the Prophet Muhammad. Islamic guidelines emphasize that true healing comes only from God, and the recitations are the means to seek His help. Practitioners caution against charlatans and forbid any practices that involve magic or seeking help from the jinn themselves. As in other faiths, there is a strong emphasis on first seeking medical and psychological help, viewing ruqya as a complementary spiritual support. In Jewish folklore, particularly from Eastern Europe, we find the tale of the dybbuk. A dybbuk is understood to be the dislocated soul of a deceased person, which clings to a living individual, causing distress and speaking through their mouth. Unlike demonic possession, the dybbuk is not inherently evil, but a lost and suffering soul unable to find its rest. Stories of dybbuk possession were a way to explore themes of unresolved sin, social obligation, and the need for communal reconciliation. Rabbinic authorities would perform a ritual to persuade the spirit to leave and help it find peace, thereby healing the afflicted person. While a prominent feature of folklore and theater, the concept is not a central part of modern Jewish theology, which generally approaches such phenomena with psychological and rationalist perspectives. Moving to South and East Asia, we find a rich tapestry of voluntary, often celebrated, possession trance. In many Hindu traditions, deities are believed to descend and possess devotees, especially during vibrant temple festivals. These individuals become oracles, speaking with the voice of the god or goddess, offering blessings, prophecies, and healing to the community. It is seen as a great honor, a sign of profound devotion. Similarly, in Taoism and various Chinese folk religions, mediums known as danqi, or jitong, enter trances to channel deities or spirits. They perform acts of self-mortification to demonstrate divine protection and serve as living conduits for spiritual power, resolving communal and personal problems. In many traditional African religions and their diasporic descendants, possession is a central and sacred element of worship. It is the primary way the community interacts directly with its deities and ancestors. In Haitian Vodou, the spirits, or loa, are said to ride their devotees, who are referred to as horses. During ceremonies filled with rhythmic drumming and song, a loa descends into a practitioner, who then embodies the spirit's personality, movements, and wisdom. This is not a chaotic event, but a structured and meaningful communion that brings guidance and healing. We see similar structures in Brazilian candomblé and umbanda, where spirits known as orixás and guyas manifest through mediums to offer counsel and perform spiritual cleansing. In North Africa and the Middle East, the Zar ceremony provides a space primarily for women to engage with possessing spirits through music and dance, transforming a potential affliction into a managed relationship. This legacy of spirit communion is also present in the United States. The ring shout, a practice developed by enslaved Africans, is a counterclockwise circle dance with call and response singing. It was a powerful way to build community and invoke the spirit, a tradition whose influence can still be felt in the ecstatic worship styles of some Black churches today. Across the indigenous cultures of the Americas and Oceania, relationships with the spirit world are fundamental to healing and balance. While the term possession may not always be used, shamanic practices often involve the healer entering a trance state to journey into the spirit world, or allowing a helping spirit to guide their actions. Through rhythmic drumming, chanting, and dance, the shaman connects with these spiritual allies to diagnose illness, retrieve lost souls, and restore harmony to the individual and the community. These are not acts of passive reception, but of active partnership with the spiritual forces that animate the world. How do these rituals work? Across these diverse traditions, we find striking commonalities in the mechanics of inducing trance. Rhythmic stimulation is key, the relentless driving beat of a drum, the unified clapping of hands, or the cyclical nature of chant and song. This auditory drive can entrain brainwaves, facilitating a shift in consciousness. Sensory overload or deprivation also plays a role. The swirling smoke of incense, the flickering of candles, prolonged dancing, or periods of fasting can all help to break down the ordinary boundaries of the self. The use of sacred objects, specific postures, and consecrated spaces all signal to the participant's mind and body that they are entering a different reality, a process amplified by the collective energy and shared expectation of the group. While these experiences can be profoundly healing and integrative, they are not without risks. The potential for psychological harm or exploitation is real. Responsible traditions have built-in safeguards. Consent is paramount. A person should never be forced into a ritual. Special care is taken with minors and vulnerable individuals. A key ethical principle is the avoidance of coercion and financial exploitation. A genuine healer or community focuses on support, not power or profit. Furthermore, there is a growing recognition of the importance of referring individuals to mental health professionals when their distress may stem from psychological conditions rather than spiritual ones. This brings us to the critical intersection of science, medicine, and faith. Many symptoms associated with negative possession, such as hearing voices, personality changes, or convulsions, can also be indicators of neurological or psychiatric conditions like schizophrenia, epilepsy, or dissociative identity disorder. A differential diagnosis is essential. The modern compassionate approach is not one of opposition, but of collaboration. In some healthcare systems, frameworks are being developed where doctors, psychologists, and culturally sensitive spiritual leaders can work together, ensuring that an individual receives holistic care that respects their belief system while also addressing any underlying medical needs. Spirit possession, in all its forms, remains one of the most intimate and dramatic expressions of the human search for meaning. It is a mirror reflecting a culture's deepest beliefs about the self, the sacred, and the nature of reality. Whether viewed as a sacred communion, a psychological state, a social script, or a spiritual affliction, it challenges us to look beyond our own assumptions. It reminds us that the human experience is vastly more varied and mysterious than we often